Okay, welcome to Derek Bound's music vlog. Today, we're going to check out the location of Ferdinand LaMothe's home. Ooh. Ferdinand LaMothe. We know him more commonly as Jelly Roll. He was born around 1890. Not really sure about his birth date. He himself said that he was born in 1885, and some accounts I read 1884. This was before birth certificates were required. And he passed in 1941. We're talking about the guy who wrote such songs as Jelly Roll Blues, King Porter Stomp. He learned to play at 10 years old, 1 year earlier than I did. He was a brothel pianist at the age of 14. Can you imagine being 14 and playing piano in a brothel? Wow. What's up with these artists, or future artists, or artists, even at a young age, playing in brothels, or growing up in brothels? Wasn't Richard Pryor was another one out of Peoria, growing up in a brothel. But I guess some kids got to be something, the action is taking place for the, what comes out of it, kids. But anyway, he recorded in 1926 with Victor Records. Now, Victor had a location here in Chicago as well as New York, and he recorded with the Red Hot Peppers in 1926. Now, before that, he was born in New Orleans, and he was seen performing in Chicago as early as 1910. You know how musicians had gigs outside of the state, whatever. This was probably one of those situations before he lived here. Now, he lived in Chicago for a few years, late teens, early 20s, I believe. Not really sure on that, but definitely in the early 20s. And he lived in a neighborhood called Alden Square. Alden Square was kind of it was kind of obscure at the time. This was a community that was built on top of the original prairie that was here on the south side. This would have been, we're talking about around 37th and Vincennes. On his draft card, he even put 37th and Vincennes because it was obscure. Okay, where's Alden Square? It was kind of a circular kind of cut-off community, or we call gated communities now. And I'll show you another example of that gated community that's probably about half a mile from there or so. Now, now this was new to me. He had a brief radio show in 1934. And I believe some of that, you can find some of that audio on YouTube. Now, I was just amazed when I saw this. A young black man with his own radio show in 1934. We know Nat King Cole had his own show, and he was first black man, I believe, with his own show, television, very early. Well, anyway, the Depression ended his relationship. The Depression ended a lot of people's business relationships. Now, he spent some time living in New York for a while, and in D.C. In 1935. And in D.C., he worked at a place called the Music Box, where he was a bartender, bouncer, MC. So he pretty much did everything. And his friend owned the establishment. Now, he got into an altercation there at the bar with the a friend of the owner, who was a friend of the owner. He was stabbed by this person in 1938. And this was a sort of a Bessie Smith situation occurring. This was a time when we had separate hospitals for whites and blacks. So he wasn't going to be admitted at the white hospital. So he had to take him to a black hospital. So that's sad, increasing his risk. Later, his wife suggested that they move to LA, better for his health. And he later died in a hospital because of his other asthma situation. He died in the LA County General Hospital. He said in 1941. So today, that's just a little about his life. Now, sometimes musicians would say, you would hear that Jelly Roll was kind of cocky, and he would say that he invented jazz. He was very early on that cusp of jazz, coming right out of ragtime. So you can hear some of those transitions out of ragtime into that early jazz, with the likes of Louis Armstrong. You know, it's very festive music, very festive when you think of a Louis Armstrong. But anyway, if you haven't checked out this guy, I'm saying this guy. If you have not checked out Jelly Roll Morton, go check out his recordings. So we're gonna take a trip now to visit the location of Aldine Square, or where it used to be anyway. Let's go. Okay, here we are at 37th and Vincennes. Aldine Square used to be right here in this lot. It used to be a gated community. Prior to that, it was prairie land. This sits on the old site of the Ida B. Wells projects, was torn down. All of this vacant land you see. So this opening here may have been the opening for the park initially. Now, I'm not sure though, but let's get a closer look and see where the location of 545 would have been. Now, it looks like the alley's still there. Look at the old photos. There's an alley in the back, and there was a brick wall here all along. And his house, 545, would have been the third house on this grass area. So it would have been somewhere about here. It would have been where Jelly Roll Morton lived, because it was the third one from the sidewalk. That's the approximation of where Jelly Roll Morton used to live. And the little circular drive would have gone around all the way to the back, come up. Aldine Square. Just to give you an idea of how Aldine Square looked, this is another gated community called Groveland Park, just about a mile away. Established 1855. Got that same circular drive.